Today on the pod, my guest is Ontario High School student athlete Halle Ciroli. Halle talks about coaches and teammates that have made a huge impact, her decision to commit to Tiffin University for volleyball, and which teammate she thinks will break out this softball season at Ontario. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Bases Loaded podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Kennedy, and today my guest is Halle Ciroli. Halle, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, obviously, a high school student athlete at Ontario High School. What all are you involved with there at Ontario?
I'm in softball, volleyball, and other extracurricular activities. I do yearbook staff, show choir. I'm an umpire for OYS sports, little girl softball. Yeah, I'm part of like the honor roll and scholar athlete.
Good deal. Well, you didn't mention the umpiring part. That's like a whole nother podcast. Uh, does that give you a little perspective about people maybe complaining about balls and strikes for then when you play?
Yeah, I really feel for those other umpires, especially in like older kids sports. Even like little kids, 8U and 10U, those parents tend to get a little crazy.
I say, do you feel pressure out there? You're like, holy cow, man.
Oh yeah, scared to mess up for sure.
That's awesome. So after seeing sports kind of, get screwed up last spring for your teammates for their senior year, how nervous were you going into your senior year thinking that maybe things could be taken away from you as well?
Yeah, I was actually pretty nervous, like with all this COVID stuff. A lot of things have been getting messed up, especially with like I was even lucky to have a volleyball season. Even though there was like limited amount of tickets, I was still glad that people could come. And then for approaching softball season, we're actually in it right now. I mean, I'm just hoping the more rules will get lifted and nothing gets more serious than it already is.
Right, right. And it's weird too. I was just talking to some softball people over here at Clear Fork the other day. I'm like, so how are we supposed to be this year? Who's supposed to be good in the conference? They're like, I don't know. Everybody redshirted last year because we didn't have a season. But is that something where even just going to practice for softball? You mentioned day one was yesterday, but is that something that you're going to take? Because a lot of people are like, oh, practice, it's such a grind. But is that something you look forward to actually, just because it can be taken away?
Yeah, especially since it's my last year too. It's like my last hoorah out there on the diamond. So I'm just excited to be out there all I can.
Absolutely. So, what were you able to do as far as sports go? Like, obviously, with school sports getting canceled last spring, what were you able to do over the summer? Because I feel like baseball, softball, and I always said this from the get go. When you look at the COVID stuff, I feel like those sports have got to be less complicated to make happen with the COVID stuff. And it looked like a lot of kids were playing travel stuff in the summer. Was that kind of what you were able to do?
Yeah, but in the spring, I was actually playing travel volleyball, and we're supposed to have about like seven-ish tournaments, and we only got through three because obviously COVID canceled it all, and then they canceled our spring softball season. But then, as in the summer, as things like lifted up a little more, we were able to do summer volleyball workouts, but it was a little difficult because you had to go in like pods, like you had to go through stage one, stage two, stage three, and it was difficult working by yourself for the first couple weeks, like just one on one by yourself in a ball, but it got better after that.
As I say, that's something where it's like, holy cow, you got to hold yourself accountable and try to make it like yeah, something fun. But again, you're just happy to be able to do it. So looking back to your childhood, kind of growing up, what comes to your mind when you think about sports and the impact sports have made on your life?
I've actually gained some of my best friends from sports. Like growing up, I was always around them, like cheerleading, gymnastics, soccer, basketball, softball, volleyball. And then I gained a lot of like friends and teammates from a very young age. So I'm glad to have that part of my
Uh,
life.
As I say, also, and we kind of mentioned this before, you get to know not only people that you play with as teammates, but also your competition.
Oh,
Yeah, and you look at like the social media now, everybody knows everybody. So is that something that you look forward to? Like if you're, playing Lexington or whatever, like the different girls that you're going up against, obviously before you even get there.
yeah, it's pretty crazy because you have like those rival schools and you're like, oh, those girls, blah 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 blah. And then now, like, I'm actually playing with some of those girls that were my rivals, but they're on my like travel team now. And I'm like, oh, they're not that bad. Like, they're actually my friends now.
That's exactly right. You're always like, I can't stand them because they go to another school. Then you figure out you're like, actually, we're pretty similar. We
Yeah.
have a lot of the same things in common. So who are some people, coaches that have kind of helped you out along the way so far?
I definitely say Jen Lawberg. She was my volleyball coach for 2 years. She really helped me as a volleyball player and then as a person, actually. And then Sean Snow, he's been the head varsity coach for the past 2 years in softball. I mean, he's like just like an extra dad. Like, he knows when to get down to business when it's game time because we obviously all want to win. But other than that, like, you can joke with him or talk about anything. So that's good.
Good deal. What would you say? Is it between the two? What is your favorite sport? Does it depend on the season, or do you have a favorite?
Well, growing up, it was definitely softball, but then playing that from like t-ball and then all the travel ball years, I feel like I got a little burnout. And then when volleyball came around, I just feel like definitely that's my favorite. But I still enjoy softball. Like, I'm excited to play.
Good deal. Was there any thought for you to not play your senior year of softball and get ready for college?
Yeah, a little bit because during volleyball season, I actually hurt my elbow and had to go to like the doctor and therapy and all this stuff. So it was definitely a thought, but I just did a lot of band workouts in the weight room, and I don't know. I can't see myself ever like stopping playing.
Yeah, as I say, especially when you saw last year how it stopped for everybody. It's like you have one more shot and try to go do it. So who are some teammates that have kind of helped you grow as an athlete and as a person?
I definitely say Carly Pearson. She's been my best friend for years, but since we've been in like sports together from basketball, softball, volleyball, we've just created a bond. And she's always there. Like, if I'm in a bad mood, she'll help pick me up, or if she's in a bad mood, like, we're there for each other.
Do you guys ever butt heads when it comes to sports?
Not really, actually. Like, we're kind of on the same page about everything.
That makes it a lot easier, I guess.
Yeah.
When you look at when anybody looks back at their high school, career, um, a lot of people have a lot of things to be proud of. What do you think you're going to look back at as a student athlete and be proud of the most?
I'd probably say having records at Ontario. I have a couple for like serve percentage, hitting percentage, and kills. And then probably like staying humble. Like, everyone knows those athletes who like they think they're all that, but then like you still got to be humble in and out of sports.
Absolutely. So you are committed to Tiffin University to play volleyball.
Yes.
What all went into that decision? Kind of tell us what your recruiting story was like.
Okay, so my freshman and sophomore year, I was like, not really. I was like, I don't really want to play college sports. And in middle school, it was always like, oh, am I going to play softball? Like, I never really thought of volleyball in college. But then my junior year, I was like, wow, it's really almost over. So then springtime, I like buckled down, and my dad and we like created a list and then an email and a huddle video, and we just sent it out to a bunch of schools, even schools like I knew I wasn't really going to get into. Like, it's good to have rejection. And so when COVID hit, that kind of messed everything up because the last Friday we had at school actually was my first college visit. I went to Shawnee State and I really enjoyed it. And I know there's past Ontario volleyball players there who I've been friends with for a while, but it's just kind of a far drive from home. So I wanted to keep looking. But then with COVID and everything, like, I had, I wish I had more opportunities to like go and see more places, not just like text and contact the coaches. But then Carly's family knows someone who works at Tiffin, and she was like, well, let's just send our stuff there and then see what they say. And then they actually wanted us to both come out. And so she went on a different day than I did, and then we just fell in love with it. It's like more of like a small town vibe, I'd say. So yeah, the coaches were really nice.
Yeah, as I say, people, you always say when you know, you know. Do you remember when you decided, like, yes, this is it? Do you remember the moment when you committed?
I feel like just literally walking around the campus because it's a big, and it's like closer to home. It's not too big. That's what I like, and the coaches were really nice. So I feel like as soon as the visit was over, I was like, yeah, that's definitely where I want to go.
Good deal. So we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, but a lot of kids, it's always funny. A lot of kids, they know they want to go to college. They're not sure where. They're not sure what they want to do. You seem like you have it figured out. What's your plans for after college?
So I plan to major in forensic psychology, and then after my 4 years in playing at Tiffin, I plan to come back here, probably go to like the branch or something, and just either go online or in person for 2 more years to get my master's in social work to become a mental health therapist.
That's awesome. So moving in the direction of softball again, which teammates, as we are approaching the season here to start, which teammates are you expecting to have a huge breakout season?
I think we're about to have a really strong season with a lot of girls, but I'd probably say there's a lot of seniors in our class, so I feel like a lot of them, like Claire Hennig, Addie Kissinger, and then juniors and sophomores, Julia, Kylie, Taylor, Jocelyn. There's a lot of names to look out for this season.
That's awesome. You always hear about, I feel like something that's kind of overused a little bit is the culture. They always talk about that with business and sports, but it is very, very true. How important is it to, go every day for sports and you're working out with people that you like and you enjoy and you're making each other better? How important is a good, positive culture?
I think it's good because it shows how you work together as a team. And like if there's no drama off the diamond, then you're not going to have drama on the diamond. And you're all there for one reason. Like we all want to win and we're all very competitive. So yeah, I think it's good to just be drama free and be positive and help each other.
So, what are you going to miss about Ontario High School?
Um, I'd probably say like the atmosphere. Everyone's very nice, very kind to each other. There's little spots here and there, but everyone gets through it.
So what is the can't miss school lunch at Ontario? What is the one that you're like, okay, they're serving that today. That's the go-to.
I actually don't eat the school lunch. I probably haven't eaten a school lunch since elementary school.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And there's like money in my account from elementary school. And my mom's like, you have to pay, like they won't give me my money back. Go get extras or something. So I definitely say like Bosco sticks. That's about the only thing I eat there.
Yeah, Bosco Sticks is a huge fan favorite over here at Clear Fork too. So, all right, Halle, I really appreciate you being on the podcast and best of luck this softball season and in the future at Tiffin.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot for listening to another episode of the Bases Loaded podcast. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bases Podcast.